Okay, so today I'm going to show you guys how to throw on the wheel. I'm going to do a very exact step-by-step. If you need a reminder, maybe rewind and for the actual on the wheel part. But first of all, you're going to start with a fresh bag of clay. And I'll try to keep this as quick as I can and speak loudly. I have a camera here, but my mic is over here, so. Okay. So it doesn't matter what kind of clay that you start out with. You can use the red or the raku. The raku clay has a little bit more grog in it, which can hurt your hand when you're on the wheel head. And the red clay doesn't have quite as much grog, so it doesn't hurt your hand as much. But always use fresh from the clay, fresh from the bag, not the bucket ever. It'll have too many problems in it for you to throw. You don't want to have to worry about that. And then always use this cotton string to cut is what I use, because the cotton is a natural fiber, so if you were to actually, get it stuck in the clay, it's not going to ruin the clay. And I just cut a chunk off in a cone kind of shape, like so. And then I use a clean, dry wheel head to wedge my clay. So once again, not using the wedging table, it's full of all those little clay particles, and you don't want that. So I'm just kind of wedging this. And the more kind of round that you get this into a cone shape, the easier it's going to be for you. Okay, so, and then with a clean, dry wheel head, you're just going to stick that to that. Okay, getting this on can actually be kind of hard for you guys. So what I recommend that you do is you put the back one on first. I got water and stuff in the way, but okay. If you get it on and it's really easy to get on like that was super easy, right? You didn't do it right. So it should be hard to get on. So that means you just didn't catch it on the lip. So you want to try to slide it back. There we go. And then kind of pull it towards you. And then the front piece goes on and that kind of pops in. Just kind of wiggle it in. Whatever you want to do. There you go. Okay, so the wheels turn on all a little differently. This one has a little power button, and then every wheel is different. So whatever one you start with, this is the one you want to stick with. And this pedal, you have to press it down very slowly to get it to work. Like I said, they're all a little different. So we're just going to go as fast as we can, okay? And then I'm going to take my foot off the pedal. You don't want to be messing around with that and speeding down. It just throws off your wheel. So, tools that I have a bucket of water, a sponge, very important, some sort of cutting tool, like a fettling knife here, and I also have a wooden, under my bucket, a wooden rib with a right angle. That's a nice one to have too. Okay, so you're going to start by using lots of water. Okay, so I'm right-handed. Right hand's going to go on top, left hand on the side. So kind of like that kind of positioning. And you want to sit as close to the wheel as you possibly can. So you're leaning on top of it, using the force of your body to throw, not sitting back like this and just letting your hands wobble around on it. That's just going to make it worse. So your hands are going to move with it, actually throwing it off. Then if you lock your hands into place on top of it, then it'll be easier for you. Okay, so lots of water. I'm going to compress down, because if I was to just come at it from the side, it's just going to push it off. And then notice it's catching on my hand when I did that. Anytime you feel a catch, you need more water. So pushing down, and then this part of your hand, you're going to use kind of your palms right here. And you're going to lock your arm into your body, so into your leg or into your body. And I'm a little shorter, so I use my leg, but I have to kind of go on my tippy toe, with my leg. And then you're just going to plant it. So not like that. My arm's not planting it. That's not. I'm not able to keep that stiff. So the clay's just going to bounce around. So you got to keep it stiff, right? So I'm using more of the part of my bone, not necessarily my muscle, and my body, right? And then, so when I center, I don't actually press on the wheel head, and a lot of you guys do, and then you rip up your hand from the grog, but I don't. I go down kind of like that, and then I use the sponge or this clay tool to kind of scrape away that excess clay, okay? So that's going to be easier for you, is kind of planting your hand and using this to kind of scrape that away. Or using a sponge and pushing that clay back in. If clay comes off, that's fine. Okay, so you're kind of keeping it a cylinder position. So I'm going to press back down, and I'm going to press in, right? So I kind of go down on the bottom and then up on the top. So the whole time, though, you're just kind of locking your hands. And so you can see that it's this nice cylinder kind of thing. If you Google how to throw on the wheel, you'll see a lot of people raising it up and then raising it back down. I don't have you do that because I find that, first of all, it takes you forever just to do this, and then you get too much water worked into it. And since we're using fresh clay right from the bag, there's really no reason to do that. Okay, so now it's centered. So, right, not centered. If I just keep my hand stiff by planting it, that clay will eventually form to my hand. It's easier with two though. So, okay. Alright, and then I always kind of like flatten the top with my hand there, so it kind of starts you out for opening. So we just centered the clay, and you center as fast as you can, centering right hand, left hand on the side, right hand on top if you're right-handed. And we're going to keep the wheel as fast as we can, lots of water, right? So at this point, we're going to find the center. So if I was to just pick the center and guess, there's a really good chance that it would not be in the center. So what you want to do is find the center. So you gradually come from the outside in, okay? And so I know it's a little hard to see because I'm backed up, but I use either my thumb, okay, so you can kind of see that I'm pressing down into there, and then I'm going to go in, right? If a little clay comes up, that's okay, just get rid of that. Technically, you're not really supposed to do that because it's kind of wasting clay, right? But when you're first learning, I find that it's easier for you guys to do this. So you're just going to keep pushing down. So you can notice in this step you would take a lot of time to do it. And you notice if you were to keep doing that, you kind of already have a bowl that's already thrown and you don't actually have to raise the wall. So this is the easiest way to do this. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to kind of speed this up here. Okay, now for this, you're still going as fast as you can because it's the spinning that's finding the center that's throwing the pot for you. You kind of control it by keeping your hand on it because you don't want it to like flare out. And you obviously wouldn't want to go all the way to the wheel head or else you're going to have a hole in your pot. So I'm going to now open it. So we centered, we found the center like by, it's called opening the pot, and now we're going to open it up more. So we're going to kind of take my hand, I'm just going to pull it towards me, okay? So I'm not pulling the whole thing, just the inside. So, and I probably need more water. Okay, so I'm going to pull open, right? So I'm steadying my hands, controlling it so it doesn't fly out, and I'm just digging into the clay, like so. And because I went a little fast on that, I'm getting a little bit of a bobble. That's okay, that's normal, you're going to get that. If you go a little slower doing this, all these steps, you won't get the bobble as much. And the faster the wheel goes, the faster you can go, and you can make some of those mistakes. Okay, so now you can see I have a kind of a cylinder shape, but it's about like 1.5 inches thick. That's too thick, right? So we opened it, now we're gonna raise the wall. So you compress in, right? So I just compress in on the wheel head, use the sponge. So now I'm switching hand position, because I'm right-handed, so I was using my right hand for almost everything. I still am. I'm going to go on the other side, my right hand on the outside with a sponge. You don't have to use a sponge. I find it's easier when you're learning. And you're going to press on the outside and go up. So my left hand is just helping support it. So I'm going to I kind of scoot back for this step because I'm still resting my hand on my body, but I kind of want to get on the edge of it. And these trays kind of get in the way, so. All right, so I'm keeping it in, right? The wheel is want to spin it to make it go out, so I'm pushing that in. But basically, you're just pinching, and by raising it up, okay, because I had a little bit of a bobble, it's getting wobbly. For you guys, that can be a major problem. You really want to slow down your wheel. So maybe a speed like that, but still a little fast. Okay. If you start to lose control, just lots of water, cup it back around. The slower the wheel goes, the slower you have to go. All your movements have to be slower though, and that can make more of a bobble in your pot. So, so it's still a little on the thick side. I could try to thin that out again. But really, if you do this right, you can fix a bobble even if you have one to start. It is hard though, but just by kind of thinning, right? Okay, and then usually you'll have a top that needs to be trimmed, so you can trim that, get that knife back. And I noticed I scooped out the water. You don't want water sitting in there, that would be bad. So, you know, I get my sponge and kind of... Okay, so trimming is actually kind of hard. You want to make sure there's a lot of water, that it's flowing, so I'm kind of pinching along here. And then the knife is I'm going to pinch it and come in with the knife as I'm doing this. So I'm pinching and then keeping my hand steady. You're going to come in, and you want to kind of come down a little bit, so you are taking off parts. So you pinch until it comes all the way through, right? And then you just kind of lift. So that's why this is kind of helping. You need that water to glide. I'll do it again. But you can't just get it at the top. There's a really good chance you're just going to cut off. It doesn't work quite the same. You have to actually cut down into the pot. So yes, you do lose some of your height, but you'll just mess it up if you try to do it any other way. And then a sponge. Always go back over and compress and get that water out. So this is a good bowl. I didn't really waste much clay. You're going to push in on the bottom. I'm not done. You want to trim it. Okay, so I'm going to push in. So we centered, open, raised, trimming. So trimming, you go a little slower. You can use different tools like the wooden tool, whatever you want. But I always cut in on the bottom and give it a foot and cut in again. Sometimes that happens where the clay kind of catches on here. Okay, so you can see that I gave it a foot. You can do kind of some lines and stuff in it if you want, especially if you threw it a little on the thick side. Wouldn't be a bad idea. It looks good in the glaze. I'll thin it out. Always go back over with the sponge, smooth everything. Okay, so that's a good pot. There's really no problems with it besides the little clay I got on there. But all right, and you're going to take this off, right? So stop it. Okay, so turn it off, like literally power it down, because I've seen you guys a lot of times, you're done and you hit the foot pedal and then the whole thing spins off. So you're going to take off this top part of the tray and just get that water out of there, extra clay. Just put that in the bucket. And then you're going to go back to your string here and put some water on there. And you're going to pull this through like floss, okay? So don't pull really hard or fast, or it's going to fall. Like it's going to like come right at you really fast. So sometimes it takes a couple, usually just one, and then notice that it just slides right off. So I'm just going to keep pushing, and then voila, I have a nice pot. And then I'm going to set this to dry on the edge. Technically, you would throw a bag over it, kind of loosely, let it dry so that then you can trim it. But I don't have you do that. I don't teach you how to trim it. I have you trim it on the wheel. So if you do it right, you have like a perfect pot. You don't have to trim it in the end. The reason I don't teach you to trim it in the end is because when you're beginning, you usually mess that up and then you ruin your pot. So just throw a good pot in the beginning. You don't have to. I usually don't trim my pots either. It's just kind of an extra step that if you do it good from the start, you don't have to do that. And then let it dry. To finish it up, then you would come back the next day. You grab your pot, and usually by this point it's hardened up kind of significantly sometimes, and you just have to take some water and go back in and clean that up, or a tool, scrape the bottom, because a lot of times when you bring that string through, it kind of gets a little edge on it again. So, and then carve your initials into the bottom of it. Very, very important, because they will all look the same. And then, when you're done, if you have time to throw another pot, which these shortened classes, you kind of don't, but clay will stick better to the to other clay than fresh wheelhead. So I wouldn't even clean that. I would just wedge my clay, get it on there, and then when I'm done, that's when I would clean everything. So you have to get this clay off, take the trays off, clean everything down, don't leave a mess, right? And that's it. And then put your extra clay back in the bucket or leave it. The other thing is you should take your tools out, okay? These will start to rot and get all stinky, so I just set that. Make sure I don't leave my tools in there, and I just set it to the side. And that's it.